You made the widget bigger? I see how it is. Ooh, building lighting has taken quite a while. So let's see. So we'll get there. So I'll experiment a little bit with this grass and see if there's something we can do with it, and we'll give it a see if it's there. But I don't know. The big thing is this scene doesn't have much detail in it, and this scene has a lot of detail in it. So that's kind of what I was talking about, which one of I think the most difficult things that's going to be for us to get on this terrain is to not steal the show with the foreground grass and still get it to look like it fits. You know, like we need the stuff to be detailed enough that it doesn't look like garbage, but not detailed so it doesn't, you know, visually steal your eye. Yeah, one of the things I found out today was that my basement isn't draining nearly as well as it should for water. It's not coming back from the sewer, but it's not draining out into the sewer as fast as it should, so I'm going to have to get that work done. And of course I found that out by coming downstairs and realizing that my computer was sitting in a half inch of water. And I was like, huh, that's probably bad for it, right? Of course, I've got a server class machine under my desk, which is elevated off the floor for exactly those reasons. So, not really a problem, but it'd be a problem otherwise. Yeah, that could be bad. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. I got plenty of surge protectors and shit all over the place. And you can sue people for those sorts of things. You can actually, like, if you could sue the surge protector company for it not working and causing damage to your computer if you have the right ones. Alright, well, we'll take a shot at that sort of grass inside of our new Grasslands at Night level. Why does it want me to change these? I didn't edit them. Alright, so I'm gonna revert my changes there to Adam's level, so it is as you left it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw some of that grass down and kind of get a feel for that sort of stuff. Did it put grass on top of the fucking cube? That's really funny. Alright, so we can place foliage regardless of whatever is on it. Like, I wonder if we can even place foliage on top of the sprites. Nah, it looks like it uses collision or something like that to figure it out. Well, if there's enough grass, then it certainly has some sort of stuff. Alright, so we got foliage instances will have random scales. And let's do 2 to 7. I guess if we lock these things, it'll be like 2 to 7. It's probably what we need. The density of the foliage of paint. This is a multiplier for the individual foliage type's density pattern. Alright, so let's take a look at the density pattern. Aligned to normal, random yaw, height, yes, instance settings, cull distance, cast shadows, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. So where the hell is the density? Just 100? So if we just put the density to 1, we get stuff like this. Looks real boxy, which is not bad actually. Alright, so let's just... I really wish you could just apply it to the entire damn thing. Reapply settings to instances. Like what I'd like to do is just apply that setting to the entire landscape in one select. As opposed to doing something else. It's like I want to just bam the entire thing out. So let's see. Let's just Google it. So, as according to March 2014, you can fill it with a large foliage brush. There are no other ways. Terrains are disabled for paint bucket fill. So it says that there's procedural stuff that's experimental for foliage. Well, we could take a look. I'll be right back. Just washing a few things. Don't want that water to come destroy my computer. So I'm just making sure that it's not flooding too badly over there. I'll get people to fix that later, but I don't want to do that at midnight. Alright, so basically what I'm reading right here is I'm reading the forums. It's like you can paint a huge area, blah blah blah, but that's not really what we want. Like, we want a solution, not just a little hack thing. Procedural foliage placement stuff's very experimental. It's available. So let's see what their procedural foliage. I guess we're already using it. Right. So we are using the foliage system, which is their ecosystem crap. At least I believe so. Let me see if there's anything inside of like plugins or something like that. Doesn't look like it. So I guess we're just going to have to kind of wing it. So let's see, if I place one here, and place another one right on top of it. Is it placing more grass is my question. So why don't we drop this thing down to, something reasonable. And let's just, my assumption here is that if I paint something, and then if I paint it again, it makes it denser. Alright, it looks like not. It looks like it just covers it as you want. Alright, cool. So it does what I want. I don't have to do anything insane. As you can see, our performance dropped to just complete garbage. And we did not get a uniform distribution at all of grass when we did it either. It's all over the place. $380K is the number of foliage we actually have. Is that what it's saying? Can we unpaint foliage? Alright, it looks like I can't even undo the placement of this. So, well, to hell with it. Let's get out of this level. That's the other thing I like about some of this is when just can't undo work and try it again. Let's see, is there... How do you unpaint foliage? How do I remove previously placed foliage? Just go to the lasso tool, select the foliage you want to delete, and press delete. I would never have thought about that. It's just interesting that we get these big circular patterns for no real reason. Maybe you need to use smaller brush strokes, and that doesn't cause these circular patterns to show up. Well, I press the delete key. Let's see what it does. Other than just freeze on me. Come on, Unreal. I told you to delete all that crap. Let's see what it's doing in the output window. Nothing. Let's see what Windows is doing. The editor's taken 6%. It's not running out of memory. Well, it looks like it's pretty much screwed. So don't operate on a lot of foliage at once. It does not like that. What I'd like to be able to do is kind of do the same thing that we did with the height map creation, where it gave us the big, track open, and I'd like to be able to take that section and just like drop it onto the terrain and be like, there's my foliage section. Like painting foliage on the terrain is kind of just What I want to do is I want to just create a piece of geometry and stamp it on the terrain. Just bam, there we go. That's what it is. And I don't have to see the foliage to know it's there. Alright. So let's see if we can just paint on this stuff and not have it look like utter trash. See, that's what I don't like. Like, it's not filling up. Why not? Like, I can see my frickin' brush strokes. Like, that's stupid. Thank you, Python, for following. And you're gonna have to suffer with me angrily complaining about everything, because that's kind of what I do. I kind of just bitch about stuff. Because we do that, and then we do that. Like, we can very clearly see our brush strokes in the foliage. Like, which you wouldn't expect. You'd expect that as I did more of these brush strokes that it would wash out. But no, you can see, like, this was the first brush stroke, and then, like, these others, like, it's just kind of silly. Alright, so it looks like this thing only chokes and dies if you're trying to delete too much at once. And genocide all the grass. Alright, so let's see if there's something I'm missing here with, you know, putting down objects. Just Google it real quick. My foliage. The issue is we can see our. I mean, I want to paint bucket this thing filled. Okay, now the erase works. The default. Alright, that makes sense. So we're trying to figure out kind of how this foliage system works, and so far I'm not really that impressed with the ease of this, because I can't just slap down circles and have this look good. Like, this looks bad. Like, why isn't it the same density out here as, you know, inside here? Like, that's just obviously there's a setting we have wrong or something. Because that's just garbage. Like, you can obviously see where we painted this stuff, and it's like, well, no, that's, you know, something's wrong with our settings or with how we're expecting this to work. Where, all right, so like painting foliage, Unreal, can see brush strokes. Or smooth foliage. Let's see if any of these things are on the forums. Alright, so here we go. This guy is complaining about, while trying to do this, I discovered a problem how the editor paints foliage. As you paint foliage, instances are distributed, but as part of the brush moves, the brush contains the paint full radius. Alright, so this is answered here. Alright, outside of using the other two methods mentioned above to evenly... Alright, so he's got an explanation here. Alright, Sinocron's asking, have you ever dealt with platform-specific code? I'm trying to structure my code a little backwards to most cases. The main file is platform-specific, and it calls out to the non-platform-specific code. Have you tried this before? Have you run into any problems? So platform-specific code, most of the time, like, you have a header file or an implementation difference. Usually you have an interface class, and then you have the thing that implements the interface class, and then you conditionally compile the different things in, and it's all based on the CPP stuff. So like, you would have, if you're in C++ land, your header file would use compile switches to figure out which other header files to include for platform-specific stuff. And anybody working with like a Windows-specific thing would, make sure that they include that and have the right compile switches around their code. So usually you segment off the different stuff completely into like its own folder with its whole implementation for like the actual guts of it, and then you use compile switches in the headers to include the correct implementations in the background. And it's kind of a pain in the butt to set up, but it's very important to just nicely segment stuff out and be very thorough with your... make it rigid, make it so it's not easy to just screw around with stuff. Alright, so there are two questions here. One is slow foliage placement, one is the other. So I'm just going to read this. I'm going to answer some other questions. There are a number of factors to be causing this. Since you're trying to paint grass, which is usually a much higher density than other foliage, you want to take into account things like the size, radius, and density of your brush while painting. Depending upon your hardware, freeze is good for your attributes. Provided with the DX DAGs. If you are trying to paint the max brush size with a high density, your machine is struggling to populate these instances immediately, I would try lowering the brush size. There are also a number of other ways to apply foliage, like the procedural foliage volume and the landscape grass tool. Both are very effective ways of applying grass-like foliage, especially the large landscapes. Alright, so we'll look at the landscape grass tool. Outside of your other two methods mentioned above to evenly control foliage across, you're right in assuming applying foliage when clicking is a multiplicative process, and will iterate on top of pre-existing foliage. There are ways to avoid and work around, which begin by making sure you have tested what each stroke or click produces when painting. It's very easy to get out of hand when painting in foliage, and if you don't have LEDs, performance can take a hit. Okay, you can use the reapply tool to adjust the density on a per click basis. So there are a number of ways to efficiently place foliage while still being able to control. The procedural foliage tool are both great alternatives to using the foliage painting tool. Alright, so he goes to painting the density, and this is paint. He's got this reapply here. This is not a high resolution image, so let me see if I can. It's a high resolution image. Alright, so what he's doing is he's going to reapply landscape and density factor adjustment. Alright, so you're supposed to paint this stuff on like this, and it'll look like crap, and then you're supposed to reapply the foliage. Yeah, see, that's kind of silly. And I'm allowed to bitch about stuff because this is my stream. Alright, so we'll set up what he's got. And he went to reapply foliage. you can still see the circle. What the fuck? Like, it doesn't work at all. Alright, so if I paint like this big area like this, and I do reapply at a lower level, yeah, it just don't work. It just don't work. Like if I have to do all this all day, every day, like you can still see the brush strokes. That's ineffective. Alright, so this is, we're just doing this wrong probably, is what's going on. So let's just erase all this grass. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the other stuff. So there's the grass tool. You'll need to download the open world demo collection. Go to the library under Vault, open the grass tool is now available with 4.8. Over the course of this tutorial, just give me the data sheet. Just give me the data sheet. I don't want a tutorial. Alright, so grab landscape editor, do all that stuff, and we're going to make our height map. Exit landscape tools. Alright. Alright, so these guys are saying miscellaneous landscape grass type. So create a landscape grass, right click, go to landscape grass. This is totally different from how we would do it otherwise. We'll grab the mesh. So we have a static mesh. Alright. And then we basically say the grass density and all that stuff, random rotation, align to surface, use grid. Alright, so we have like this whole material, and then we have the grass tools. In order to see the grass system in action, we need to apply the material that was created in the last step to the landscape, and then use the landscape painting tools to define where we want the grass to be spawned. Alright, so we assign the grass material to this thing, and then we paint on the layer. In the target layers, add a new plus icon. So we add a new layer to paint. Select the grass target layer, and inside of the viewport, hold the left mouse button to begin painting the grass material to the landscape terrain. For this step, try and completely cover the landscape, giving you results such as this. To remove grass, select the rock texture target and then put it on there. Okay, so this is a completely different way to do grass. So yeah, we're basically doing it wrong, is what we're finding. I just love that. It's like, now that you've learned to like right click on things, you can draw the rest of the owl. And it's like, Jesus Christ. It's like I had a game dev book that back in 2008 or something, and like it was really funny because it started off and it said, okay, well, this is how you make some sprite stuff, this is how you make non-sprite stuff, this is how you make this, and this is how you animate a 3D character. And they had like one 3D character and then a background sprite, and they're like, there you go, you can make Final Fantasy VII there, go for it. It's just like, no you can't. This isn't even close. Alright, I'm gonna go take a minute here, quick break, and then we'll come back, and what we're going to be working on is we're going to figure out this landscape material and grass tool stuff. So that's basically, we're going to make a grass actor, and we're going to apply it to, we're going to create the actor, create the material, and then apply that to the landscape, and then hopefully we can mess around with that and see what it does to this white void of nothing. So I'll be right back in a couple minutes. Alright, well I snagged some food. Got some water and ready to get back to this. So let's see, what do we need to do? In the following section, we'll be creating the required actors and materials for the grass tool needs stored correctly. Create a landscape grass type in the content browser. Alright, so we're going to do make a new folder here. I'm going to call it landscape. And it's in miscellaneous and then like grass. Landscape grass type. Alright, so this will be test grass. Open the landscape grass type by double clicking it, and once open it, add a new item to the grass varieties array. Alright, so we need to add a new item to this. And we're going to need our grass mesh, I believe. Well, so they're saying the density should be 100, use grid should be true, placement jitter should be 1, 10,000, 10,000, min LOD -1, uniform grass scaling. I think we want that 3 to 6. And of course, this doesn't have as amazing an interface as the other one. Random rotation should be true, aligned to surface should be true, use landscape light map should be checked. Interesting that it doesn't actually do that. Alright, so that is that. Alright, so before we can begin to use the grass tool, we have to first create a material that can work with both the landscape terrain and the landscape grass type. In the following section, we'll cover this. First, create a new material for our landscape by right-clicking the content browser and selecting the material option. Alright, so we're going to go to our test content, landscape, and we're going to create a new material. We're going to call this test grass material. Alright, so it's saying that we need to add 2 materials to this thing. Texture samples. And it's saying we should use some specific textures. Let's see if they have these. No, they don't. So the materials that they're looking at are like noisy alpha and some other stuff. Let's take a look at this mesh. Alright, we just have this reedy texture. was like, alright, so there's our texture. Alright, so we're gonna just grab that texture in there for this then. And we're gonna want another one here, which this alpine patch. I guess we want like some sort of something else that's kind of a floor sort of thing.